Last time I spoke about democracy. We linked it a bit to the essence of economic power. And then I spoke about the fact that democracy is autocracy in disguise. Now, democracy, as you see, is a product of capitalism. And so during the last part of my video, I said I was going to share more light on capitalism. So today, I'm going to take a few minutes to do that. But before I do that, I want all of us to know and understand that in today's world, any group, any country, any territory that wants to be dominant, your first priority must be economic power, your military power, and then your culture. You see, there's something in the Bible that says that seek ye first the kingdom of God and everything shall be added unto you. But in our physical world we stay, or in our physical world where we live, if you are living in the physical space, it is very important to seek for an economic liberation, and all other things shall be added unto you. The fact of the matter is, you see, when you're economically strong, it links to other things, you understand? You have some level of respect among nations. If you're on the other side of the ladder, or if you're at the bottom part of the economic ladder, sometimes many of us feel that we have some sort of respect in the eyes of the Western world. But the truth of the matter is, they don't regard you. And let's always understand, especially those of us who have moved beyond our continent and trying to find life elsewhere, you are strong as your home. The kind of respect that is being given to you by other race is based on how strong your home is. Do you understand? So the perception, the opinion, and then projection of your race by other race is based on how strong your home is. So you cannot just forget about a home. Let's get that. Now, as I was talking about economic power, with the economic power, there are a lot of leverage that you are able to get, trust me, in terms of your ability to control your territory. For example, you know the issue about LGBT where Ghana is fighting. It is just about economic power, where you get your food from, and then you being controlled to take what you think you don't want to take. You don't have the economic power, so everybody would have his big shot. You don't have it. That is why I'm saying that if you want to protect your culture, protecting your culture without economic power is vain. Do you understand? So those of us in Ghana who want to make culture the big deal, culture is very important. We have to grow culture, we have to maintain culture, but seek ye economic freedom first, and all other things shall be given unto you. If you have economic freedom, nobody is going to impose anything on you where you're not willing to do. Because you don't have it, you'll be told what to do. Because at the end of the day, you pick your cup and then you go get some tea elsewhere. Do you understand? So in today's physical world, my scale of preference will be economic power, military power, and then protection of culture. We see, look at it on our internet. Culture supremacy, a bit of tribalism, a bit of ethnicity. The things that we are seeking for, these are not the things that brings respect, or these are not the things that makes a nation stronger. Do you understand? One comes after the other, but we are chasing the other, the lightweight. You get that? Very, very important. We need to prioritize very well, right? Okay, so I will still bring it back to capitalism. And then, as I've said, where you see, when you look at the nations like Russia, when you look at nations like China, nobody would dictate for Russia, nobody would dictate for China. You know why? Because they have the economic might, they have the military power, and then when it comes to technology and innovation, they are equally there. When you sit in your country and then you are fighting about culture, tribalism, like imagine feeling that you are so strong in Ghana, feeling that you have a tribe, you have whatever that is so big in Ghana. Look, it can take just Russia to wipe up your whole territory. Have you thought about that? You don't really have power. It is the mouth, right? You're kasa. But we really don't have power. If somebody really have the military might and want to wipe us, it will be so easy, right? So let's fight for the right things. The things I see people fighting about on the internet, sometimes I laugh. And I feel like, hey, the more queen, or I have a queen. Okay, so I'll quickly branch into capitalism. Maybe I'll give you a bit of it, and then later We'll go into detail because of time. Now, the world is run by systems. Depending on the system you adapt, that is how your entire system will be developed. So there are different systems of the world. The popular ones, you know about capitalism, which is the most popular. And then we have socialism, and then those who want to mix a bit of capitalism and a bit of socialism, right? Now, before capitalism came into place, if you're talking about capitalism, then you're talking about industrial revolution. Now, I've explained to you when the industrial revolution happened. And today, I want to use a particular diagram to help you appreciate some level of changes some country experienced when the industrial revolution happened. That is the hockey stick growth diagram, right? Now, get this. Capitalism, one of the brains behind capitalism, the man, Adam Smith, who wrote about an inquiry into nature, and then by trying to find the wealth of a nation, spoke about a lot of things. Now, I'll share a few with you. Per his belief in capitalism, there must exist a household, a firm, and a market. So if you don't have a market, if there is no firm, and then if there is no household, capitalism cannot work. There were a lot of important attributes he gave about capitalism, where he said that in capitalism, government must not intervene. Government must allow forces of demand and supply, or invisible forces, to shape the market, or invisible forces to bring the market to equilibrium. Now, beyond that, he also talks about the fact that the only point where government would have to intervene is provision of public goods, right? That is where there are some aspects of our economy, like when it comes to electricity, when it comes to railway, when it comes to provision of roads, government provides those public goods. These are all philosophies of the man who completed Glasgow University, right? So Adam Smith talked about all these things. And according to him, he said that, you see, before all these invisible forces come together to form that equilibrium, there is some level of interest which all the economic units have. So I am playing my role. I have an interest. Now, another one has an interest. Another economic unit has an interest. It is the interplay of this interest that brings the market into equilibrium, right? He also talks about that. I think there are a lot of things he talks about. He also talks about division of labor, that when you employ division of labor, it increases productivity compared to where a craftsman has a lot of skills and would have to waste time on one production process, right? So that is equally key. Now, that is a bit of it with Adam Smith. Now, quickly, we'll look at the diagram. Now, I'm using this diagram because it showed how countries had moved from the moment of pre-industrial revolution till when some countries also tasted industrial revolution, and then how the growth pattern looked like. Maybe you have a chance to actually look at it. So when you look at that, when you look at the hockey stick diagram, it says that rapid sustained growth in average living standard since 1700. We are dealing with data. On your emotional, right? We're dealing with data. So when you look at the hockey stick paragraph or diagram, it tells you about how GDP changed per the century. So it's looking at countries like Britain, Japan, Italy, China, and India, and how their average GDP improved over time as the century went by. So when you look at the diagram carefully, of course, the green is being represented by Italy. You have the blue by Britain, all other colors by China, black by India, and then all that, right? So when you want to find a good part of Britain, you need to check out for blue, Japan probably orange, Italy green, and then all that. So let's see. Now, when you look into the 1000s or the 1000s, you will realize that at that point in time, the countries like Britain, Japan, Italy, China, India, all of them were not growing in terms of GDP or in terms of their productivity or total productivity in the country. So when you look at the diagram carefully, all of them were flat from 1000 through to 1600. Now, where there was a change in terms of their development was somewhere around, when you're even looking at from the 1000s, you look at the green line, which is Italy. It means that Italy was experiencing some level of growth in terms of GDP over countries like India, over countries like China, over countries like Britain, and then all that. Now, it follows suit in that manner. As time went by, you realize that countries like China was increasing, but then with their growth, it wasn't sustainable. Now, when you look at somewhere in the 1600s, you realize that between 1400 and 1600, countries had experienced some level of sustainable growth, and then the curve began to pick from the 1800, between 1800 to 2000. That is where we saw real growth. As we speak, when you look at the diagram carefully, I believe you can make few analysis by your own, you realize that Britain was currently on top. That is in the 20th century. That is the peak of the Industrial Revolution. Britain was on top. And I've told you that Industrial Revolution started in Britain. Now, as the Industrial Revolution started in the 20th century, Japan was matching Britain gradually. And then it was followed by places like Italy. And then, of course, Italy was leading. And then later, they were overtaken by other countries. Then you look at China. China is still rising force in the 20th century. And then India follows China closely. And today, you even look through Indian growth path with China. They are all like matching time, not too close. But I mean, they are marking in terms of population. It is highly possible that India will overtake China because of China's one-child policy some time ago, right? So this is actually the 20th century. China was nowhere closer to British, but as we speak today, China has overtaken British long ago. The battle is between US and then China, probably Russia, followed by India, right? So this is telling you the growth path of nations and how Industrial Revolution affected their growth path, their GDP per the years that came through, right? When we say Industrial Revolution, it simply means that the time or the moment where technology became the dominant force in the market. Technology made work easier. Technology made it possible for production process to be easier. Technology was everything. So it was a moment where we moved from an agrarian way of doing things or agrarian society into more mechanical or more technological society, right? I believe you enjoy this lecture. No matter how complicated it is, I'm sure when you watch it again and again,